Wow, what a debate that was. I don't know if you guys were tuning in like we were, but considering the expectations and the explosive things that have happened in the last 48 hours, how do you think it played out? Who won? Did Donald Trump win or did Hillary Clinton win?
I think pretty decisively. I think Donald Trump actually won. I was super nervous for this. I thought he was just going to come out and lose his cool, lose his temper. And surprisingly, he did a little bit, but he really kept it together. You can notice when he first came out, his voice was lower. He was talking slower. You could tell. I feel like internally
He was doing like
using
woosah.
He was definitely
woosah.
told,
Calm down, Donald
And
Trump.
I think he did, but I think he did really, really well. It could have been a train wreck, and in terms of policy, he shellacked her on some stuff, especially on the comments about his video that came out. She went for it, and they asked the question. And as you said, he throat punched her a couple times in how viciously he attacked her, and she laid off for the rest of the debate.
So Roger Stone is one of his more controversial advisors. He's been around. He's actually a Daily Caller fashion editor. And
check out his
he
blog.
has long been advocating for Donald Trump to bring out the victims of Bill Clinton, bring out the past of Bill Clinton, show Bill Clinton for who Roger Stone says he really is. And in the last debate, they toyed with the idea of putting these victims in the front row, and they decided at the last minute, we're not going to do that. Donald Trump, or Roger Stone, really won the night because they came out hard against Donald Trump. He went whack, whack, whack. He slammed him on the Bill Clinton thing. Well, Bill Clinton and his daughter are sitting in the audience,
looking rather unhappy.
Shut it down. But does that actually help him with what we're going into next? I mean, these quotes from Donald Trump are still going to be spreading to the American public. Does this help him at all?
I think it does. I think to your point, Chris, the Roger Stone style of attack, if you want, some people don't like it. I think it's at the point in the race where Trump has to fire all of his guns. I mean, he was the perfect amount of aggressive, in my opinion. Katie, you touched on that. But he didn't go over the edge. You know, he was able to say, look, you know, I might have said some terrible things, but Bill, you know, you've done some pretty awful stuff yourself. None of that matters. What matters is that Hillary might have put classified information into the wrong hands, and she jeopardized American lives.
And he apologized.
And he took it back to...
He apologized
right.
again, too.
Yeah. And he brought it back.
It came full circle.
He actually turned it into an attack. Because in the first debate, what we saw is Hillary Clinton hitting him on money, hitting him on all kinds of things.
Tax returns,
and instead of turning it back on, well, let's talk about you for a second.
He just kind of backpedaled.
He just kind of defended.
Right.
He was like, no, I'm actually very rich. I'm very rich. I'm very rich. And tonight's debate reminded me of that fantastic old-fashioned old Marine quote, which is, General, we're surrounded. It's like, great. Now they can't get away. He just attacked in all directions. But it's going to be really difficult for him still, I think. He has stopped the bleeding, I would say. He has gotten back on top. He's calmed down some of his fans. I mean, the wusses over on Capitol Hill are still shaking their fists and yelling, like, we need Mike Pence. We wish the voters had chosen differently. But I think he really calmed down at least his supporters.
Speaking of, so I would say he cauterized the wound. But
did he get new people, though?
Speaking of Pence, though, Pence,
No?
we know,
so.
didn't tweet the entire debate. We already know that he was very displeased with what Trump said about women.
Right.
And now there's some rumors that maybe he's like, hey, I'm not on this boat anymore.
I saw this just as the debate was wrapping up. If this is true, if these rumors are true, first of all, I haven't been able to look into them like fully and verify.
Yeah, it
what
could be
is.
nonsense.
It could be people on Twitter. But if that's true, that's bad news for the Trump camp. Pence is his best surrogate.
Oh,
he is
absolutely.
the yin to his yang.
For sure.
He is.
And
But
he needs
it's
that.
also, it's a huge thing. Is this true? We've seen such shoddy reporting on this, where everything that's come out about Mike Pence has been, well, maybe, or we heard this rumor, or this or that. We can't confirm a single darn thing, but we're going to print it anyways because it's about Donald Trump. And it's shown very, very shoddy reporting. And Mike Pence did come out earlier today and say, there's no truth to this.
Yeah.
I am staying
Sure,
with the campaign.
right.
And so far, Mike Pence has defied Washington, D.C. wisdom, and he has been one of the few serious people in Republican elected politics who have stayed with Donald Trump. I mean, you have Rudy
behind
Giuliani,
everything.
who's retired. You got Chris Christie, who's on his way out unless there's a win
Seriously.
here. You've got Roger Ailes. You've got a lot of folks who
Have been
really have nothing to
disgraced in
lose.
the last year.
would help him as an Indiana Republican looking forward. He's got to stick with the party. He will face a backlash because Donald Trump might not have enough supporters, likely won't, to win the White House. But he certainly has enough supporters to wipe out anyone who gets in his way, and he could burn down the party structure. He's angry, and he's firing in all directions.
I think it's pretty close to coming to that. The primary it showed us that. I mean,
So what do we think at the end? I thought it was a phenomenal end of the debate for Donald Trump. So they got asked that question by the man in the crowd saying, what is one thing that you respect about one another?
I actually really like that question.
Hillary.
I was not expecting.
Usually I don't like cheesy questions, but that was a good cheesy question.
It was a good, because what would they say, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know. And Hillary Clinton, actually, I think, as she would say, Hillary Clinton took the low road and Donald Trump, surprisingly, took the high road. She says, you know what? I respect his children, which is obviously a dick. She didn't have a single thing she
They are
could
good
come up
kids.
with.
They're good kids.
Right, but she didn't have a single thing she could come up with to say about him. And he turns around and says, I respect her fighting spirit. I respect that she never gives up. I respect that she has tenacity. She goes for what she wants. And he missed it off.
I don't agree with her. I do not agree with her. I don't like her ideas, but she's a fighter, and she doesn't quit.
And I respect
that.
Which is an incredible answer compared to her not even being able to come up with something about him.
Well, good thing he had her 2 minutes.
At first I thought her answer was good, and then I realized just how backhanded it really was.
Well, yeah,
Trump's,
for
I think,
sure.
was a legitimate
And
compliment.
he goes, thank you for the compliments to my children. I'm not sure it was a compliment.
That's true.
That was a great line from Donald
Yeah.
Trump, and his problem is he's so scatterbrained. You ask him a question, he starts his thought, he doesn't finish it. He said, well, the first thing I do is, well, let me say, and by the way, and you know, it's a mess, people, believe me. And it's like, you have not said a single
Have you been
thing so
practicing
far. No, it's unpracticed. Although, speaking
Only
of
in
practice,
the mirror every morning.
I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I say, you again. And I get all excited. I get to hang out with me. But
Welcome
Donald
to the
Trump,
Daily
I think,
Caller,
does the same thing. I would say, speaking of practice, that it looked like he actually did practice for this debate.
He did.
He
He
had energy.
obviously
definitely
did.
Well,
I
I
bet
think
they
the
hit him.
backlash from the first debate with all the stuff him saying, you know, I'm not really preparing, I'm doing whatever, and then Hillary's, you know, saying, I'm super prepared, and then Pence and Kane
then
both
Pence.
saying they're
Right.
getting prepared.
And
I think it was
how
kind
well
of an
Pence did.
crap moment.
Just imagine his practice modes, though. It's probably like him sitting behind his desk, Roger Ailes and
I imagine
and
it's just him
Giuliani
yelling
smoking
at
in his
Chris
office,
Christie.
being like, explain Obamacare, you son of a gun. And then he has to go. Because he
Christie's
had
in the corner
answers.
with the Hillary wig on.
Oh, that's weird. No, I guess, I guess Caitlyn Jenner is a advocate of Donald Trump still.
I don't
Do we know?
Did he
Has
endorse her?
has she been quiet about all of this stuff?
Well, he's been pro-Republican.
Has
I know,
been
right, but
since
recently
forever.
now,
Well,
I
we
don't
don't
believe
know.
Still openly.
she said
Not
much.
Chris Christie in a wig, endorsement from Jenner, unconfirmed.
We're not sure if
As
Caitlyn
unconfirmed
Jenner
as
was cut off
Pence
from
quitting the
support
ticket.
for Donald
But
Trump.
hey, let's report it because, it's 2016.
Yeah.
And I hope 2016 never ends.
It's been a lot of fun.
What do we?
No one's
so
expected this.
What's going to happen next, though? What are we expecting CNN to say, MSNBC to say, Fox to say? Because they're going to come out they might be coming out with them as we're talking in the next few minutes. The polls of who people think won the debate. It's going to be coming out any minute now. What do we think is going to happen?
Well, the worst thing that happened to cable television in the last few years is this focus group BS that happens after every debate.
After
where they
anything.
drag in like their C-list reporters and political pundits and a bunch of weirdos, because you have to be a weirdo to want to take part in a focus group. None of you out
Especially
there,
at 11 o'clock
y'all have
on Sunday.
opinions. And they're
To be
like,
fair,
I
they
want
do
to see
pay
your
good money
opinion in a
sometimes.
room. That's weird. They're weird people.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get a good idea from that. But from what we saw before we came in, folks on CNN were saying, well, it looks like Donald Trump won. He stopped the bleeding, but it probably won't make a huge difference in the campaign because who's watching? I'd be really interested to see if more people tuned in this
That'll
debate
be
than the
interesting.
last
The
one.
numbers.
I imagine the viewership will be pretty high.
It was like there's a prize fight in there.
Do you think the video too, his video coming out, ratcheted up numbers? They wanted to see what was going to happen, what he was going to say. Would there be an epic Trump meltdown over that video? There wasn't.
Yeah. He handled himself pretty well. He addressed it and
He
he
did.
apologized, and then he turned around on Hillary.
That was an important moment too. He really, you need to say, I'm sorry.
He should have said
This
he's
is not
sorry.
a good representation of me, but it also isn't a representation of me. It's not who I am. And he came out and he did that, I think, very well.
And he
then
said
he
something
shut it down.
He did.
He just shoved it
And
down
it
the
was
throat.
we went through a 90-minute debate, and it probably took up 2 minutes.
Yeah, she
It
laid
was
off
longer than that,
entirely.
but it was not. It was like 2 questions. And that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
It's quick.
and they-
Boom, boom. How about the moderators?
Ooh, Martha
Raddatz.
Raddatz. Thank
Yeah.
you. She
You're
went.
forgiven for not knowing her name.
I know.
who
I'm
knows
just.
her name?
I'm
You're from
just.
Seattle.
Maggie Hassan.
Sorry,
I finally get it right. All these M names and R names and everything. I'm getting them all.
Well, do I
all mixed
pronounce
up.
it? Do I overpronounce it? Do I underpronounce it? I thought that
She went after him.
and it was a bit much. She had her
Right.
Candy Crowley award for 2016 when they were talking. He was asking, "Well, why are we advertising ISIS that we're going to come bomb them? These guys just leave the city." And she was like, "Well, maybe it's just to psych them out."
I mean,
Like, come on, moderator,
to be honest,
pipe down.
I think the moderators did a good job this time. They definitely interrupted Trump a lot when he was going over his time and when he was trying to interrupt Hillary.
Which is
but they
fine.
did the same thing with Hillary.
They did
They
cover
did.
off
They
at
could-
the end a few times.
But
Yeah.
the correcting and the getting into a fight with Donald Trump over
They're just going to do
military
that. They
tactics.
just hate him so
Cooper
much.
was pretty tame though. He didn't actually talk a lot. I felt like 45 minutes in, an hour into this debate, I was like, "Where's
Anderson
Cooper?"
Cooper's a good professional. I mean,
I know,
so-
right? But I was just like, wait, he's here.
They
He's
asked,
still
they
at
did
this
ask
debate?
substantive questions.
They did.
Everybody
Sure.
got hardballs.
Yeah.
They kept it in, but I did not like to see Martha Raddatz go after Trump and argue with him about psychological effect
Right.
on ISIS. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you?
I was going to say they did
Yeah.
kind of chirp at the crowd a couple of times to stop them from booing after
They
Trump's
did.
answers.
Or
But
I was
After-
kind of pro-Trump a little bit.
that's what I was going to say.
Well, it's
They
not
were
Trump,
laughing
like
at
Bush.
Hillary, and
yeah.
it was a
So-
interesting mix to see that in a debate crowd. You know, if you sit with this debate crowd and you go in there to cover some of these things, it's an odd bunch.
Right.
Sure.
It's a combination of like high dollar donors all gussied up and total weirdos covered in buttons and like wearing bumper stickers with like little rah-rah things.
We've
going
watched
on.
all the debates. I have no desire to go to any of those.
No, and the reporters are smart because they put them. It's bad for
In the back,
America.
yeah.
It's bad for America. But they put the reporters in this room that's closeted off. You have to go through Secret Service to get into it. You have Google piping in the television for you, and an open bar from Anheuser-Busch. And
What could go wrong?
yeah, well, if there's anything more disconnected from the actual American point of view, it's a room full of reporters behind Secret Service connection with free beer.
Oh, yeah.
So the truly important question of this debate
We have
is
to pay for our beer here.
we do.
who was that fly? And how was it let all over Hillary Clinton's face multiple times?
I don't know.
Where did it come from?
I bet we're going to see a report. that
Where did
tomorrow
it
the fly
go?
committed suicide.
So what is
probably.
with the fly? Yeah, the fly shot itself twice in the
Multiple
back of the head
I believe
and left
they
a
have-
note.
Yeah. I was super depressed.
Yeah, I was super depressed. So I didn't see that because we don't have an HDTV.
Oh
in the
my
background.
gosh!
But
it
Reddit
was
saw it.
3 times now.
Reddit sees
It
everything.
lands
They
on
do.
her face. There's this amazing one. It's right here on her face. This fly becomes
think
a
she's a
part of her
robot?
eyebrow while she's
Seriously?
talking right
The
on
pictures
her
are
face.
hilarious. The
It's
screenshots.
hilarious.
That happened to me. I remember
She had a little help from her friends. He was out all around.
we were all
around.
taking a knee in football, and the coach was screaming at us. He was so mad, Coach Abear, and he had a mosquito on his cheek, and we saw it. It was like chugging out of Coach Abear.
Ooh,
and
that's-
one person
Oh,
tried to tell
itching
him, and
now
we
thinking
did
about
laps. We did laps for as far as I
Rinse
can
and
remember
puke.
because someone opened his mouth and said
him get
there's,
the
there's a
bite."
mosquito on there. So since then, I've never said a word when a fly lands on someone.
Mosquitoes
was
vicious
punished.
though.
Some
That
play.
like leaves.
Yeah.
Ugh,
They don't play games.
no.
I have a question.
Let's hear it.
Do you think Hillary should be worried that after this video came out, after all this backlash that Trump has received over the past couple of days, she wasn't able to knock him out tonight?
Yeah,
That's true. That
This is
she
an
wasn't
example.
able to seal the deal.
So for
I think her performance was all she could have done. I think
True.
she did a good job, and Trump won the debate.
she's just not a very good politician. So Democrats are banging their heads against the wall saying, why don't we have a better politician? And a lot of Republicans in D.C. are banging their heads against the wall being like, why are we even losing to this
Do we
woman?
think Joe Biden will be 50 points up on Trump right now?
Well, I think Joe Biden would do very well against Trump because he would hit him on a lot of the white working class
would.
vote. That Hillary Clinton can't really
That he helped
connect
Obama
with
get.
anyone. Now, you know who's probably the biggest loser tonight? Is Bill Clinton.
Oh,
Ooh,
my God.
Bill did not have a good
The
night.
Obamacare quote, which came up, and Hillary couldn't defend.
Hillary got thrashed over that. She couldn't
and
defend it.
she couldn't attack Donald Trump's biggest weakness, these videos that came out,
Right.
because of her husband. And it was something that, like, her husband did that really ticked her off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Really
for
unfaithful.
sure.
Justifiably.
Yeah,
I mean, I would be
justifiably.
angry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting though is that we're saying
Do you think
Hillary
they even, like,
did.
do they sleep in the same bed tonight? They just go
Oh,
home
of course.
separately?
I don't
way.
think they
They
sleep
don't
in the
sleep
same
in
room.
the same bed at all,
shot.
yeah.
No.
That marriage is not
Separate
a thing
wings.
anymore.
But
No way.
she did the best that she could, and yet it wasn't enough, is the point of this, is that after everything that has happened to Trump, she gave as good of a debate performance as Hillary Clinton is going to give, and she lost.
Right.
Well, as he said, as Donald Trump said at the end, he's like, well, I disagree with you on policy. I disagree with you on politics. Doesn't really like her, but she's a fighter. And she's tenacious, and she's not going to give up. And Donald Trump has got a serious foe in her. I mean, these are both kind of...
You've got a foe in me.
These two, we should have that. We should have that guy playing guitar in the background, like in Toy Story. Randy Newman just singing. Oh, I would love to see that. Just like clips.
Can we hire him? What's he doing these days?
Sure, if he's not.
Can we Skype him in to play for us in the background? That'd be amazing.
Just singing along because he does do those.
If you guys want it, we'll make it happen.
Does anyone want that though?
Randy Newman, we obviously want it.
Did they want to watch you eat Nutella? They did. You did.
I didn't like that.
No. Well, great, folks. It's late. It's Sunday. Time to go back to talking about football, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Falcons are the #1 team in the NFC.
Go
Let's
Hawks!
go!